Edward Howard wasn't just a watchmaker. He was a perfectionist in an age chasing mass production. While others cut corners, he crafted timepieces for those who valued mastery. This is the story of E. Howard & Co. and the man who believed time should be beautiful. Edward Howard's story begins in the heart of 19th century America, a time of rapid industrial growth and ingenuity. Born in 1813 in Hingham, Massachusetts, Howard was drawn to precision mechanics from a young age, leading him to apprentice under Aaron Willard Jr., one of the most respected clockmakers in the United States. The Willard family had built a legacy of producing high-quality clocks, with Aaron Willard Sr. and Simon Willard pioneering the banjo clock and shaping American horology. This environment instilled in Howard a deep appreciation for craftsmanship, accuracy, and innovation, principles that would guide his career. In 1842, Howard partnered with David P. Davis, a fellow apprentice from Willard's workshop, to form Howard and Davis in Boston. Their collaboration was built on shared expertise, while Davis specializing in precision instruments, while Howard refined his ability to manufacture high-end clocks. The firm gained recognition for producing some of the finest weight-driven regulators, which found homes in observatories, railroad stations, and businesses that demanded unparalleled accuracy. However, Howard's ambitions stretched beyond clocks. He saw an opportunity in the rapidly evolving field of pocket watches. By the early 1850s, Howard joined forces with Aaron L. Dennison and Davis to form the Boston Watch Company, the earliest attempt at mass-producing watches in America. The partnership sought to revolutionize watchmaking by introducing interchangeable parts, a concept inspired by the American Industrial Movement. However, Howard soon realized that mass production came at the expense of quality. Dennison aimed to make affordable timepieces, but Howard envisioned something different, a watch that could rival the finest Swiss creations in both precision and artistry. This fundamental disagreement led to Howard parting ways with the venture, making the beginning of his quest to craft watches that adhered to the highest horological standards. In 1857, the Boston Watch Company collapsed financially, and Howard saw an opportunity. He partnered with Charles Rice, a financier who had acquired the company's remaining assets. Together, they established E. Howard & Co. in 1858, purchasing unfinished movements and equipment from the failed venture. Unlike Dennison's model of mass production, Howard insisted on making watches in small batches, ensuring each one received meticulous hand finishing and superior materials. This approach set Howard's watches apart, establishing them as a benchmark of American precision timekeeping. E. Howard & Co. quickly became synonymous with excellence. One of its early innovations was the split plate movement, an improvement over traditional single plate designs. By using 6 pillars instead of 4, Howard's movements offered greater stability and easier servicing. The company also pioneered stem wind mechanisms, eliminating the need for a key to wind the watch, an innovation that would soon become standard in the industry. These technical advancements, combined with Howard's insistence on fine finishing, resulted in some of the most accurate and beautifully constructed watches of the era. Howard's commitment to precision extended beyond functionality. His watches were often adorned with intricate damascening, an engraving technique that created delicate, swirling patterns on the movement plates. This not only added an aesthetic flourish, but also reflected the care and skill involved in their production. Furthermore, Howard's movements typically featured high jewel counts and were individually adjusted for accuracy, a labor-intensive process that ensured superior timekeeping. At a time when many American watchmakers prioritized affordability, Howard remained steadfast in his belief that excellence should never be compromised. Despite their exceptional quality, E. Howard watches faced growing challenges as the 19th century drew to a close. The rise of mass-produced watches from companies like Waltham and Elgin flooded the market with lower-cost alternatives. While Howard refused to lower his standards, shifting consumer preferences made it increasingly difficult for his approach to remain financially sustainable. In 1881, the company underwent reorganization, and by 1882, Edward Howard retired, stepping away from the industry he had helped shape. The Keystone Watch Case Company acquired the rights to the E. Howard name in 1903, continuing to produce watches under the prestigious brand. However, these later models, while still high quality, were fundamentally different from Howard's original creations. Rather than manufacturing its own movements, Keystone initially outsourced the production of E. Howard Watch Co. watches, using movements made under contract by American Waltham Watch Company before later developing its own. Following the 1903 division, the E. Howard Clock Company was established as a separate entity. This independent operation ensured that the E. Howard name continued to represent excellence in both high-end watches under Keystone and precision clocks under the E. Howard Clock Company, preserving its legacy. By the turn of the century, E. Howard & Co. had become a dominant force in American tower clocks, installing massive timepieces in courthouses, government buildings, and city centers. E. Howard & Co. watches were manufactured until 1930, when Keystone discontinued watch production, primarily due to the economic challenges of the Great Depression, which led to decreased demand for luxury timepieces. Keystone did continue producing watch cases, like always, until they eventually ceased operations in 1956. After the watch production halted, the brand shifted its focus entirely to clocks. Despite their success and dedication to precision timekeeping, production of smaller clocks ended in 1958. However, the company continued manufacturing high-quality tower clocks, many of which are still in operation today. The final E. Howard tower clock was produced in 1964, marking the end of an era. Edward Howard passed away at the age of 90 in 1904 in Roxbury, Massachusetts, leaving behind a legacy of uncompromising quality and technical brilliance. His watches remain among the most sought-after American timepieces, cherished for their precision, craftsmanship, and historical significance. While the world moved toward mass production, Howard's timepieces stand as a testament to the artistry and skill of an era when watchmaking was not just about keeping time, it was about achieving perfection.